I remember exactly where I was sitting when they laughed at me, how the cheap vinyl of the studio bench stuck to my legs through my sweat-dampened tights. That afternoon in Curitiba seemed pinned under the dullness of old overhead fluorescence, full of the static tang of body odor, resin, and insecurities. I just finished my solo, breathing like a dog, heart tanking. Even then, I could sense the room on the cusp of something I wouldn't like. Professor Murillo clapped, not with enthusiasm, but like someone knocking dirt from their hands. Good effort, Maya, but modern doesn't mean unhinged. You must trust tradition. Did you hear the music? His eyebrows demanded an answer. I nodded, not trusting my mouth. He looked to the others, Lucia from Alto de XV, with her point shoes always pristine, and the twins who traded steps and secrets, all leaning with anticipation. Behind the mirrored wall, my own reflection stared back, strawberry birthmark high on my cheek, sweaty bangs pasted to my forehead. It felt like someone else's face. The room was silent for a beat. Then Lucia, lips tight as a knot, nudged her friend. I keep saying Maya's always inventing. I mean, what even was that? Someone sniggered, the word inventing strung. The twins exchanged a look, like I was an amusing creature performing nonsense. Murillo rested his chin on his steepled fingers, sighing deeply. You need discipline. Curiosity is good, but there's a line. Those leaps, what were you trying to show us? Off balance and overdone. How many times? Then came the words I'd always feared. You must understand your limits. Not everyone is meant to be a principal or a choreographer. He smiled at me thinly. Dreams are important, but dreams should be reasonable. A hot flush of shame rose in my chest. I straightened my shoulders regardless. Why not? Why not me? His lips quirked, a teacher's patience thinning. Because being great isn't about wanting. His gaze slid around the studio. Rehearse the ensemble. Maya, please sit for today. He turned away. I saw it so clearly. The students exchanging glances, Lucia's little victorious smirk, the twins looking relieved. As if someone finally said it out loud, as if our shared, quietly competitive world had gotten a little smaller and I'd just been pressed out. I pressed the heel of my hand into my thigh, feeling the pulse of anger and humiliation throb through my skin. That night after class, I biked through the linden-lined streets of Alto de Gloria, wheels humming over broken pavement. I rode past bars where laughter spilled out into the cold evening, past pastel walls tagged with names of people I didn't know. My apartment sat atop an old bakery whose mornings always reeked of fermenting yeast and sugar. When I climbed the crooked stairs, my mother was already waiting at the table, her reading glasses perched at the tip of her nose. She hardly looked up. How was the studio? I hesitated, trying to blend into the shadows. Fine. She snorted. Fine, she says. She set her glass down, eyeing me. You really think you can make something out of this, dancing around? Ma, there are real jobs. There it was, her voice flat with resignation, like she'd already watched me tumble and she was only waiting to sweep up the pieces. I wanted to snap back, to tell her that I didn't just dance, I built something when I moved. That when I listened to a song, I saw bodies filling the gaps in the melody. I saw worlds, not just steps. But instead, I went to the bathroom, ran the water, and let the noise drown out everything. Every weekend, I watched as my cousins in Santa Felicidade posted their university acceptances in the family chat, my uncles clapping them on the back, always with steak at the ready to celebrate. My mother would crane her neck at her phone and sigh loudly whenever my name appeared, always just another performance video, another call for ticket sales. Give up the fantasy, fill her, she'd whisper when she thought I couldn't hear. Be practical. I lasted another 2 years in that city, clawing for scholarships, dancing in half-lit rec rooms, spending afternoons teaching basics to kids who barely listened. Every time someone said, "What's your backup plan?" something sharp twisted inside me. When finally a touring company from São Paulo held an open workshop and chose a single dancer for an apprenticeship, I auditioned with splits in my tights and a rib that ached from last winter's fall. Afterwards, the director called me aside, her accent clipped and clear. You have something strange, half wild, almost ugly. She paused, met my eyes. Unique, come. That night I packed my duffel bag, left a note on the fridge, gone to São Paulo, don't wait up, and boarded the overnight bus, thinking if I never come back maybe I can truly start. My life in São Paulo was 10 square meters of shared apartment, cracked window letting in the constant growl of traffic. The mornings were thick with milk fogs of humidity. I learned to stretch aches from my bones, to live on adrenaline and the burn of black coffee. The company drilled us, hour after hour, through movement so precise it felt like constructing a cathedral with my bones and tendons. I learned to fail over and over, always quietly learning where to improve. Letters came from home, less frequent as months bloomed into years. My mother wrote the same brief lines: "Are you eating? Remember your vitamins." During performance weeks, my hands jittered backstage, neatening costumes, pressing seams until my knuckles ached. The cast list was always announced under a hush, names scrawled outside the dressing room door. When mine first appeared just once under principal, choreographer's solo, Maya, I stood blinking, certain it was a joke. The others congratulated me absent-mindedly, already thinking about their own parts. I danced like someone trying to plead her case to God. The audience didn't clap until the last bar faded. After so many failed auditions, so many nights staring at the ceiling listening to other dancers whisper themselves to sleep, this moment flared inside me. It burned clear. Later the director pulled me aside. "I need new work next season, 6 minutes and carte blanche, your choreography." I couldn't sleep for days. I called home to tell my mother actual real news, and her voice was distant, muffled behind her TV. "I hope you aren't getting your hopes up," she said. "Don't trust those people too fast." I wrote back anyway. I sent her tickets she never used. The next 6 years flickered by, touring, creating, dancing, always balancing on the edge of exhaustion. Sometimes critics called my work raw, explosive, indelicate. Sometimes they said gifted. Sometimes I felt like a fraud, still chasing approval from a studio long gone. My old friends from Curitiba grew up married, took jobs at architecture firms, posted pictures of vacation homes in Joinville and Foz do Iguaçu. My family barely knew where I was, not that they asked. I sent postcards from Paris, Tokyo, Buenos Aires. At home, my name became just another subject for gossip. I could hear the stories through fraught phone calls. "She's chasing rainbows, she couldn't hack it here." But then the awards started trickling in: a commission in Rio, a shortlist for an international choreographer's prize. Suddenly, galleries wanted my movement on video, foundations called, and one day, a government grant committee called to offer me a residency. In Curitiba, I could have said no, but a cold, secret part of me wanted it. I wanted to see their faces, my former teachers, the friends who pushed past me in crowding corridors, the aunts who said I was wasting my youth. I needed to stand in the city where I had been small and say quietly, "Look, I'm not a rumor, I'm still here." The announcement ran in the local paper. My mother emailed me to say, sounding confused, "Are you coming home then?" "Will you stay with me?" I agreed, but made her promise not to fuss. I wanted to move quietly, no parades. When my flight touched down that cold June morning, Curitiba was just as I remembered, drenched by drizzle, the kind that seeps into your socks. My mother met me at arrivals, brown coat belted tight, a knitted hat pulled low. She hugged me a little too quickly. In the car, she kept brushing at dust that wasn't there. "This residency," she ventured, "does it pay well?" "Are you teaching?" she meant. "Is it real? Is it respectable?" "I'm creating new work for the city's anniversary," I told her. "They want me to teach a masterclass at the municipal studio." I did not say. "At the very same studio where they laughed at me." She nodded, uncertain, as if she didn't want to hope too much in case it faded like all those old childhood promises. That week, I spent daylight in the old city centre. I wandered Rua XV, boots slapping the mosaic walkway, eyes picking out old landmarks. The pastel shop where my friends laughed over spilled sugar. The empty park bench where, as a girl, I'd imagined dancing for audiences who didn't know my family name. At night, I sheathed myself in sweatpants, choreographing in my mother's living room, hearing the faint drip of rain against the tin roof. Rehearsals began at the municipal studio, a blocky beige building overlooking a squat playground. My nerves felt green and raw as the day I'd first walked inside at 17. I recognized the echo in the stairs, the way the lamplight puddled on the scratched floors, the faded posters lining the hallway. On my first day, as I signed in, someone called my name tentatively. Lucia, older, hair swept up with the same perfection, her mouth still curved with half-hidden judgment. "Maya," she said, drawing out my name as if testing it for new meaning. "I heard you'd be leading the new piece." "Congratulations," she said, and gave a tight-lipped smile that hovered on the edge of insincerity. The twins were there too, now both teaching junior classes. They looked the same, save a few sun lines at the corners of their eyes. I shook their hands, reading their cautious curiosity. Word travels fast in studio corridors. I set to work as if in foreign territory. There were new students, young and hungry, but also former peers, grown comfortable in routine, a few even possessing that brittle edge of skepticism I remembered so well. It was impossible not to hear their private conversations, the muted questions. Does she deserve this? Isn't she the girl who always wanted too much? I greeted them calmly each morning, pinning my own doubts under a threadbare cloak of professionalism. I carved movement from silence, always seeking something truer and deeper than applause. The studio filled with the scrape of feet over battered floorboards, breath measured in counts of 8. When rehearsals ended, I rode the bus home, staring out windows glazed with condensation, watching the city's cold dusk stretch over rooflines. My mother left me soup warming in the kitchen, always enough for two but eating alone, trying not to be caught watching me think. The premiere approached, the city issued press releases with my name, even aired a short interview on local TV. My phone buzzed with distant relatives. "We saw you. Will you bring tickets?" The same uncles who'd mouthed doubts now sent their congratulations, careful and distant, like men reaching through fog. On the night of the performance, the theatre was thick with damp. I waited backstage, hands shaking. I wore black hair scraped away, every bit of me bare and honest. As the audience entered, I glimpsed familiar faces in the crowd. My mother, rigid and proud between neighbors who'd once spread stories at cafe counters. Lucia seated beside Murillo, the same weary signature scarf looped at his neck. The curtain rose, lights washed the stage. For the first time I was not the dancer but the architect, the one stringing bodies through the dark, lighting up every fear and longing I had ever felt in this city. My dancers moved like wild rivers, no dainty steps but storm-fierce, spins that coiled one longing into another, breaking apart and reforming. I saw all the old people I'd been, the trembling child, the mocking student, the girl packed on a bus for São Paulo, woven into the movement. My choreography spoke my tongue. It was silent and it was resolute. The piece ended not in a tidy tableau but with the dancers expanding into the wings, uncontained, breathless. Silence followed, unbroken, full, then the applause. It started hesitant, then crashed over me like rain. They called my name, first softly, then louder, voices I recognized, even those who denied me. My mother stood. Lucia clapped, face open for the first time. Murillo for a moment bowed his head. Someone from the press snapped quickly, the room washed in shutter click. Afterward, as the lights cooled, people pressed in. "You made something beautiful," Lucia muttered genuinely. Murillo approached me, hands folded, and said, "You found a voice I never learned to listen for. You were right, Maya, not everyone is meant for the rules." Tears prickled behind my eyes, a wordless heat. All my old anger, my hunger to prove myself, faded into something less sharp, almost gratitude. Later, we gathered in the theatre lobby. My mother drew me in carefully, as if afraid to jinx the moment. "You did it," she whispered, voice trembling, almost lost beneath the chatter. "You really did it." I took her hand, felt the smallness and the strength of it, and remembered all the years I'd wondered if I was invisible. Now it was impossible not to be seen. We walked home in silence through the slick streets, headlights streaming between the trees, city breathing soft around us. I saw my old city not as an adversary, but a place I had wandered, survived, and finally returned to full. That night, staring at the old ceiling from my childhood bed, I let the silence settle and ran my hand over that once resented birthmark on my cheek, feeling all the years collecting beneath my skin. All those rejections had been real, had marked me, yet there I was, unbroken, belonging to myself at last. And still, morning would come, the city asking for more, but now they would remember my name, and this time it would mean something new.